Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tider Insider TV, live from inside the Digital Media Center, WVUA 23 Studios, inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. At Saban Field, I guess, at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But we're in the stadium next to Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, and our show is presented each week by Visit Tuscaloosa. Go to visittuscaloosa.com. Listen, Alabama baseball is playing Troy right now, trying to go unbeaten in the midweek games. They're up 4-0 early down at Troy. Softball leads Auburn 3-1 in the fifth at the SEC tournament in Athens. Both those games are going on right now. So we're going to lead off with football because spring practice is in the books. The next time they're on the field as a team, it'll be fall camp. And so we're going to go ahead and give you a very in-depth recap from spring and look ahead to what Alabama needs to be successful in the fall. And we're going to do it based on a great piece that Rodney wrote for TiderInsider.com. Just what are the 5 things that are on your radar, 5 keys for Bama in 2025. We'll start, Rodney, with the most obvious, and that's number 1, quarterback play.
Yeah, quarterback play. Again, these 3 guys that are competing, we know about Ty Simpson and Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. We know the names. None of them really have much experience. Ty's been here the longest. He's going on his 4th year, and he's probably got less than 50 passes in his career. I think with Ty right now, again, it's like Ryan Grubb said, he's the leader going into August, probably your starter. I think the real key with him is decision-making and playing with confidence, Gary. I mean, what happens when adversity strikes? I think how he responds to that will be a big key to the success that he has.
As a team, you know, last year, Rodney, you could argue that Alabama's good was as good as anybody in the country. Ohio State, Oregon, you name it. Georgia, Texas. We saw the win against Georgia. We saw what they did to a good Missouri team. We saw what they did in the Iron Bowl. We saw what they did against South Carolina, at Wisconsin. But consistency was an issue, Rodney. The bad was really bad. Losing at Vanderbilt, getting run out of the stadium at Oklahoma, a bad Oklahoma team, playing Michigan in the bowl game that had half its team out and getting handled, and losing to a very inconsistent Tennessee team. So, Rodney, if Alabama can be good consistently, I think they'll be back in the playoff.
You know, this happens sometimes in that first year. You see a lot of inconsistencies, and hopefully year 2 goes better. But you mentioned it. You play extremely well against Georgia for the first half. You come back, you lose to Vanderbilt. You look like you turn the corner against LSU, and you lay an egg against Oklahoma. You're in the regular season really on a good note.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the LSU game. They were phenomenal.
Absolutely. And then you're in the game. You're in the season, the regular season against Auburn. You play really well. You could have blown them out, actually. And then you go lay an egg against a decimated Michigan team. And again, it's a first year. Sometimes these things happen. I think we'll see a more consistent team this year.
All right. One thing they've got to do a better job of is stopping the run. You pointed it out. In their losses last year, they got outgained considerably on the ground against Vanderbilt, against Tennessee, against Michigan, against Oklahoma. Alabama didn't run it very well, and the opposition ran it very well. That's got to improve.
Well, I mean, almost by 500 yards, it was a deficit for Alabama. When you look at those 4 losses, the opponents averaged 188 yards a game rushing. Alabama only averaged 74 in those losses. I think you really have to improve there, Gary. You even look at the Michigan game. Michigan was decimated with departures, opt-outs, whatever you want to call it, injuries in some cases, and Alabama couldn't stop them on a key drive in the 4th quarter, and they absolutely had no threat of throwing the football. So, again, I think, you know, first year, sometimes that happens. Sometimes these types of things happen. I think Kane Womack and that defense will be a lot better against the run this year.
Yeah, need to stop the run, and you need to affect the quarterback. And obviously, your secondary's got to hold up. I understand that. But it's a lot easier for the secondary to hold up if the quarterback's under duress. It starts with edge rushers. Alabama seems like they have some talented guys there, but not anybody that's really proven consistently that they can get to the quarterback.
Yeah, I think, you know, LT Overton last year, he got there, he just didn't get him on the ground. Right. That's a key. So hopefully that'll be improved. There you see Keon Keeley, number 31. He could be a guy that could be a real factor. Now you look at that Wolf spot, perhaps Quay Russaw. We've seen him make some disruptive plays. That number 4, as you saw him there. you know, maybe you see some other guys that are at that position, whether it's Yunze Pierre, who's a guy that's got a lot of talent, or maybe Justin Hill, true freshman, JUCO transfer, Cavante Henry. You got a lot of guys that I think are options there, Gary. Somebody really needs to step up and become a dominant pass rusher.
And we mentioned stopping the run. We mentioned getting after the quarterback. The defensive front. Not only do the starters need to play well, Rodney, they need to develop more depth there. You need to have 6, 7, 8 guys that you can rotate in and feel confident that you can affect the quarterback and slow down the run game so that those guys are fresh in the fourth quarter when a lot of these games are decided.
Yeah, I really like the first 3. I think Tim Kenyon's a real blue-collar guy that brings it on every single play. James Smith, we saw him flash in the Michigan game. We know about LT Overton. He's a guy with a tremendous amount of ability. But behind those guys, Jeremiah Beeman, Edric Hill, Jordan Renaud on the outside. We mentioned Keon Keeley. Some of these young guys have to really step up, kind of develop quickly. There you see Beeman, number 92. And again, you look at them physically on the hoof, they look really good. So it's just young players that are raw, that need development, and hopefully they come around really quickly.
In recapping, you look back at 2024, and there's no doubt that, again, Alabama's good was good enough. If they had played to their potential in every game, they would have been in that playoff. This year, we've talked about you've got to be able to do that more, but maybe it's not as much about being good all the time as it is minimizing the bad. You just can't have You can't lay eggs in the SEC. You're not going to. You're not. No matter who you're playing, if you play poorly, you're probably going to get beat.
It's a grind every week.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that against Oklahoma, for example. I mean, here's a team that was not very good. Let's be honest. They were talented, yes, but they weren't playing extremely well. Alabama should have taken care of business. They just didn't play well.
All right, Rodney. Earlier today, Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer spoke with the media before the annual Hoover's Mayor prayer breakfast over at the Hyatt Regency Birmingham, the Winfrey Hotel. Huge crowd on hand. And Coach DeBoer talked with the media as well, and he highlighted the Crimson Tide's success in retaining players, especially in the spring portal period. Not one single scholarship player left during the spring portal period.
I love what our coaches are doing, the investment they're making in these guys, and that just trickles down, the chemistry from the staff on down to the players. These guys, walk into the building and, feel like it isn't about punching in a clock and punching out. It's about showing up and enjoying everything about the day that's going to come at them, all the highs, the lows, the challenges, excited about the adventure, and, of course, the desire to be the best they can be.
Rodney, I want you to respond to what he said, because he said a lot there. I think the part about just, are you just punching the clock? Are you just showing up? I hate to say it, but in the modern game of college football, are you just showing up to get a paycheck? Or are you really invested in the team? Are you bought into winning? Now, again, we won't know for sure until the fall, but it appears that's the case right now at Alabama.
Yeah, it sounds like the fourth quarter program that they had went extremely well. I think it carried over to spring practice. And, again, you talk about the culture that Kalen DeBoer and his staff are building here. We've talked about that. We talked about it last week. Why these guys hung in there? And again, I think it's the culture they're building, the trust, the things that they kind of relate extremely well together, players, coaches, and all of those things. So kind of like a little bit like Clemson.
Yeah.
We've seen it from Dabo.
Yeah, and Clemson was in the playoff last year, so you can't knock it. Still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama men's basketball gained a commitment last week. And we'll also recap Alabama baseball and softball's road series over the weekend. Neither one of them won their series, and they could have, but they didn't. And also, after the break here, and we'll come back with some stories, but also a little bit later on, we'll be getting your phone calls as always. 205-348-WVUA. Go ahead and call through now so you can get on with us. 348-9882, area code 205, or you can email us at the address on your screen. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. And welcome back to TITV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Well, Alabama men's basketball coach Nate Oats has roster spots available, and the best way to fill them now is through the transfer portal. And one of those spots was filled last week. Former Tarleton State forward Keaton Bristow became the fourth quarter player to pick Nate Oats' Crimson Tide when he announced his commitment to Alabama. Now, he has some skills. He joined 7-foot center Noah Williamson from Bucknell, 6'10 forward Taylor Bowen, formerly of Florida State, and 6'6 guard Jalil Bethia from Miami in Bama's portal class. Now, Here's the thing, 6'8", 190, and I'm not buying the 190. Yeah, he's really slender. I think probably more about 175, 180. But he has some talent. He had good numbers, 11.3 points a game, 4.4 rebounds. He played in 23 games, had 19 starts. Rodney, I don't know if the physicality is going to be up to par. I think that there could be some time in the weight rooms that's needed here. I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I'll say this, and I don't think that he is, in my opinion, quite ready to walk in and be a big impact player. But, you're going to have 12, 13 guys on your roster. I think he's a nice piece. And if he stays in the program, I think probably in his second year he can really blossom.
Yeah, and young.
Yeah, he's young.
He's young. So he's got an opportunity to really fill out when you look at him physically. Did a great job there at Tarleton State. You mentioned he was the WAC Freshman Player of the Year. A guy that had a really good year, averaged over 11 points, over 4 rebounds a game. So we'll see how he kind of makes that adjustment.
Yeah, like I said, he's skilled. And Alabama is still a couple under the 13 scholarship limit. There's talk that it could go to 15 if this NCAA settlement gets in place. So I don't know what Alabama's going to do roster-wise, but we're going to talk more about that right now as it is time for Coach Talk. And Alabama head coach Nate Oats was in Mobile, actually at Point Clear on Monday for the Senior Bowl Charity Classic Golf Tournament. Now, Alabama will have 3 players take part in the NBA Draft Combine next week in Chicago: Mark Sills, Grant Nelson, and Labaron Philon. Philon is an early entrant into the draft and has eligibility remaining 3 years if he wants to return to school. But Oates said yesterday that he believes Philon is going to be a draft pick, and right now the plan is for him to stay in the draft.
Now we're getting really good feedback from the NBA. He's got to go to the combine. He's got to test well. He's got to do well in the workouts. But what I'm hearing is, I think he's going to get drafted. It'll be a great success story. He comes in, he's not on anybody's draft board, he plays well for us, he ends up getting drafted after a year with us, so that's the plan right now.
We talked a lot about Philon last week, Rodney, and I do think that that's the right approach if you're Nate Oats. But I do think this too. I believe Alabama is holding back some NIL money because if he doesn't have good workouts, if he's told maybe he won't be a top 20 pick, which is what I've been told that he and his family and the people around him want him to be, I still think there's a chance he could come back. If he comes back, I think that changes everything for Alabama men's basketball. But I think Coach Oates is approaching it as if he won't be back.
And he should.
Yeah.
You've got to prepare for, I don't know, worst case scenario is the way to put it. But you've got to prepare for him not to come back. And again, I think you look at that point guard situation and you kind of wonder how they'll, kind of handle that.
Well, I think Holloway certainly can play the point. I think Millette can play the point. I think Reitzel some, even though when you're coming off an Achilles, you don't know how much you want to have to be handling the ball. So I think it could be point guard by committee. And they could still maybe find one in the portal. But if Philon comes back, you've got your point guard. In fact, I would argue that if he comes back, you've got a top 5 point guard in the country. So probably will stay in the draft. But you know what? We thought at one time last year Mark Sears might stay in the draft, and he came back. So I do think there's money available for Philon if he decides to come back to the Crimson Tide, and that would certainly be a game changer for Alabama men's basketball. But Oates did say this yesterday, Rodney, because I think there's a lot of concern about the roster from fans. I think he probably has heard that. So he said, I listened to this, I'm going to play it on the sports at some point. I played it tonight at 5. He said this will be the best shooting team he's had at Alabama. He said everybody on this roster can shoot the basketball. So that ought to ease some fears, I think.
Well, I think every roster is built a little differently. You got strengths, you got weaknesses, and again, I've said this a lot. I believe in Nate Oats. He knows how to put a roster together. He knows what he has. So I do have a lot of confidence in that.
All right, let's get to baseball because Alabama had a golden opportunity to win a series at Vanderbilt over the weekend up in Nashville. After splitting the first 2 games on Sunday, Alabama had a chance to get it done. They were up 7-2 with 2 outs in the 8th inning on Sunday, and it got away from them. They wound up losing that game 9-7. That one stings. I'm not going to lie to you. That was stings. That would have been 14-10 in the league. That would have been a series win at Vanderbilt. Would have really put them in good shape to host a regional. Instead, they're 13-11 in the conference. They're playing at Troy tonight, trying to go perfect in the midweek games. They're up 7-0 in the 2nd inning, so they're off to a fast start there. I still think Alabama can host a regional, but they've got a home series against Georgia this weekend, then at Florida. I think they probably need to go 4-2 in those final 6 games to guarantee a regional spot, so it will not not be easy, but that one on Sunday, Rodney, that stung. And Alabama softball lost its final series of the SEC season at South Carolina. Now, they won the first game in a run rule fashion, 13-1. You thought, well, they're going to win the series. Bad weather came in. I do think that affected. They shortened the final game, by the way, on Saturday, and Alabama winds up losing that series. They're playing right now in the SEC tournament against Auburn. They are up 3-2 in the bottom of the sixth. Alabama's the home team. They need to win that game against Auburn. Top of the seventh now. Alabama's up 3-2. They need to win that game because there's no guarantee they're going to host a regional. But if they win today, that would certainly help their chances. Of course, I'll have updates on both of those games, the Troy baseball game and the Auburn softball game with Alabama tonight at 10. Well, still to come on TITV, 3 Alabama basketball players were invited to the NBA Draft Combine. We mentioned it already, but we'll have a different look at a fourth player that's trying to get on in the draft mix as well. And phone lines are open, so go ahead and give us a call right now, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'll have an opportunity to talk with you, our TITV viewing nation, right after this. As we talked about earlier, 3 Alabama players, Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, Labaron Philon, earning invitations to the NBA Draft Combine. The Crimson Tide's Chris Youngblood has a chance to earn a spot, too. He's one of 44 players invited to the G League Elite Camp. Remember, he only played 1 year at Alabama after transferring in, was hurt for about half the season, hustled to come back and play. He's a Tuscaloosa native. Love to see him get an opportunity to play in the NBA as well. All right, phone lines are open. I know we got softball going. Auburn's down to its last out. We'll keep you updated against Alabama in the SEC tournament. Baseball's playing at Troy, but we'd love to get some phone calls in. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882 if you want to give us a call. Right now, let's get to our email question of the day. It's brought to you by KDM Service Corporation when it comes to heating and air conditioning, serving your family like our family. Well, Alabama baseball and softball host regionals. That's from Kerry in Tuscaloosa. And we've already discussed it, Kerry. That's a great question. I don't know is the answer. I think that they could. Alabama's got a great strength of schedule in softball. They've got a really good RPI. Record's not the best. We'll just have to wait and see. Last year they hosted when I didn't think they would. Hey, listen, when you sell 4,000 tickets a game, Rodney, that matters. Don't think that it doesn't.
Yeah.
And baseball, like I said, that'd be a big win tonight over Troy. And if they could get 4 wins in the last 6, for sure they would. If they go 3-3, it's a maybe. But I know this: it makes a big difference if you can host that regional.
You've been saying 16.
Yeah.
Now you're hedging a little bit.
17, well, 17 for sure gets them in.
Yeah,
if they get to 17 wins, they're going to be in. And now they're at 13, so they need to go 4-2. 16 kind of puts them on the bubble. 17 will get them in. So hopefully they will, because I know it's a lot more fun when they're playing here at home. All right, we're going to get to one more email question here before we have to go to the break. And phone lines again are open if you want to give us a call. Do you think Patrick Murphy will retire soon from Angela Northport? I don't. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what he's thinking. I haven't asked him. 27 years as the head coach. A couple more as an assistant. Who knows? I mean, I don't see anything in his demeanor that indicates that he's thinking about retiring.
He's still relatively young.
Yeah, he is. I think he's a year or two younger than I am.
He's got some time if he wants it. Again, there's going to be that speculation though. He's getting near that. He doesn't have long. I mean,
over 1,300 wins, Hall of Famer. He's done a lot. Won a Women's College World Series. I get the feeling he really wants to win more World Series, Rodney. And he got a big win now. Tonight, we just got the final. Alabama beats Auburn 3-2. Hey, buddy, everything goes better for Alabama fans with a win over Auburn. So that's good news.
Dinner will go better tonight with Gary.
That's good news for the Tide softball team to get that win. They move into tomorrow's action there over in Athens, Georgia. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame inducted its 2025 class over the weekend. Find out more after the break. And we'd love to get to some phone calls. Listen, I understand you're watching the other games, but softball is over now. If you want to call and comment on that, what a big win that was for Alabama. Jocelyn Brisky getting the win, 205-348-9882. We'd love to hear from you, TITV Nation. Don't let us down. Give us a call. We'll be back after this. This past weekend in Birmingham, the 2025 Hall of Fame class for the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame was inducted, including Alabama's first Heisman Trophy winner, the great Mark Ingram. Wow. Also, you have UA tennis legend Roberta Allison Bumgardner going in. She was the first female to receive an athletic scholarship at UA, and the school still plays the annual Roberta Allison Fall Tennis Classic in the spring, and the indoor tennis complex carries her name. Also, Tuscaloosa native Otis Davis, the Olympic track great who broke the world record in the 400 meters and anchored the world record breaking 4x400 relay team at the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, was inducted, and great news there for those with University of Alabama connections. All right, welcome back into TITV, and I don't think we have any phone calls. Right, this is very disappointing. So let's get to an email, and I know we got one of those. Yeah, from Will and Gordo. Will Justin LeBron be back next season? Well, he's not eligible for the draft, Rodney. So the only way that he wouldn't be back is if he were to transfer to another school. Do I think that's a possibility? Sure. I mean, the reality of it is Alabama's got a very competitive NIL program, but they can't pay or won't pay, I think, what some other schools might be willing to pay. We saw this with, Shelton a couple of years ago when he went to Florida. We've seen it with others that have left Alabama to go to LSU. Here's what I think. He's in a great situation here at Alabama. He is getting paid a pretty good amount of money. He has a chance to be a top 5 or 10 pick in the draft next summer. Why not just stay where you're comfortable, where you're really building something special? You're going to make a ton of money when you're a high draft pick, because I know there'll be schools that are going to offer him more probably than Alabama can pay.
You know what? I like your line of thinking there, Gary. The way you laid it out, I think was perfect. I mean, really, he's got a lot of opportunities here. Stay here another year. You're settled. Sometimes you leave somewhere and you go somewhere else and it's not quite the same. So a lot of things to consider for Justin, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will. All right, that's going to do it for our phone call and email segment. Thank you for the emails. When we come back, an Alabama player is making an impact on and off the field. Find out more when we return to Tider Insider TV. Alabama star wide receiver Ryan Hollywood Williams hosted youth football camp in Hoover on Sunday. Williams, as some of his Alabama teammates and camp coaches were there with him. They gave hands-on instruction. They have talks, clinics, games, contests. It really was a good camp. And one thing about it, the best part probably is just getting to hang out with Ryan Hollywood Williams for these young people. Your grandson was there.
He did. He really loved it. The opportunity to get a picture with Ryan.
Big time indeed. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch the replay at 10:30 following the news at 10, or online anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you with some video of rookie minicamp in Seattle, Jalen Milroe. Have a good night, everybody.